Hi, I'm Jenny from Sweet as Success, cake business mentor and coach, former bakery owner, mindset and manifestation geek.
And I'm Aya from Tabi Cakes, baker, business owner, and queen of pretending my kitchen isn't total chaos.
Welcome to The Batter Truth, the podcast where we talk about what it's really like to run a cake business.
We're talking the highs, the lows, the all-nighters, and the customers who want a three-tier wedding cake for £30.
No filters, no fondant, just honest, hilarious, and sometimes slightly sticky conversations about the world of cake and business.
So grab a cuppa or a whiskey and let's dive into the batter truth.
Today's episode is all about pricing and mindset. So we were having a chat the other day, Io, about something you saw on TikTok, weren't we, about this?
Yes, so I saw this post. I don't remember who the baker was, and she was basically talking about her cake prices. And I think she mentioned that her 6-inch cake was £100. And believe it or not, actual bakers were the ones in the comment section saying that's too expensive, that's extortionate, it's a rip-off, they would never charge that much. And then I think more customers were saying, no, I've tried to make a cake and I would charge more if that was me because it costs, not cost, it takes so much time. I just didn't have the skill. And they were saying, knowing what they know now, they feel like they even owe some of their bakers some money because they charged so little. Um, so that got me thinking, like, why are we the ones doing this to ourselves in terms of pricing? And I don't know. And I just think it's a mindset thing. I don't know how much is too much, or sometimes we even think we're our own potential customers. Like you're thinking, I wouldn't pay that much for that,
Mm.
but then other people will because they don't have the skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably says as much about those other bakers that were commenting as the original poster. And it's about belief in self, isn't it? Like
Mhm.
we can do anything if we believe in ourselves. And equally, if we don't believe in ourselves, we won't be able to do anything. So I think there's a famous quote that I really like, which was by the founder of Ford Motors. That's if you can believe, if you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right.
Mm.
And it is so true. You know, if you think you're charging too much, then that isn't on based upon the quality of what you're doing or your skills or the price of ingredients. It's based on your mindset and not feeling good enough. And that so deeply affects people.
Yeah, and I think just in everything that we do, because I'm a firm believer of the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And just, I think, and also culturally, if we're being honest, the British were kind of demure and meek and don't do too much, fly not too high, just
Mm.
take it easy.
Yeah.
Um, and then that then affects our work. So I know I should be charging more, but I don't want to maybe offend my customers. And in this case, the poster offended other bakers, which is
Yeah.
wild to me. And instead of thinking, which is another mindset thing, instead of thinking, how can I do that? These people are saying you shouldn't be doing that, and that's wrong. And it's not wrong. But then I've also realized that many people don't actually know how to price their cakes. And you have a spreadsheet, don't you? Guiding people how to price their cakes.
Yeah, so I've got a free spreadsheet that allows people to put their ingredients in, and it takes a little bit of time to put their ingredients in to start with. But as we know, prices fluctuate almost daily, probably daily. So
Mm.
once that's in there. But it was really interesting because one of the people in the Sweet as Success Club, the membership that I have, she messaged me and said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realise how much I was undercharging until I put my prices out." Because we kind of think, well, I know butter costs this much. I know that it takes me around about this much time. But actually, when you really sit down, it's like doing a home budget, isn't it? When you
Mm.
sit down, you go, oh yeah, and then there was that extra bit for the box to make it a bit longer, or oh, I forgot to include the candles or whatever, I forgot to include that bit of decoration. It does all add up, and then before you know it, you're giving cakes away for free.
Exactly. And this small, as you said, this is small things because I'm asking people because when I I mentor people like, as well. And like after my cake classes, they have a 1 hour session where we can talk about business. Um, but I'm asking people, things like your kitchen roll, your coloring, your sprinkles, you need to add those in the cake. So
Yeah,
it's not just a big 15-pound topper or things that you bought specifically for the cake. Because I mean, if you've bought this 3-pound tube of coloring for this cake and you don't use it again until it expires, then who's paying for that? And
yeah.
you need to take into account all these costs. Then there's gas, electric, water.
Phone
There's
bill,
that.
yeah,
We don't put those, and especially because most people are home bakers, it's easy to just forget and just let things slide. And the most dangerous thing when I first started was Amazon. So my card, my personal card is on my Amazon account. So of course I'm buying baking things from Amazon and then thinking, oh, I've made £50 profit. But then I forgot that I actually used my personal account to pay for other small little things that I bought for the cake. Um, so yeah, so th this is just a big thing that we just forget to add these things when we're doing the pricing. But what are some things that you've kind of found with pricing that people tend to forget or don't really think of them as a cost? Because a kitchen towel, for instance, everyone's like, and in my classes, I'm like, look, we've used 6 rolls in this class, and that was about because I buy them from Costco, that's about 12-ish, 15-ish pounds.
yeah.
So you see, it's part
Yeah.
of the cost. And they're like, oh, wow, I just never thought of that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so true. It's all sort of seeps away, and then it eats the bottom line, and you think, why am I spending this much and only bringing in this much? So it's all of
Mm.
those little things, like I said, phone bill as well. Most
Mm.
of us will get the orders in through our phone.
Mm.
We will, all of the communication is done via phone, but we don't put proportion of that towards
Mm.
the cake. So it's all these kind of stuff, and an accountant or a bookkeeper will help you a little bit more. So it's really important that you get that because whatever stage you're at your journey, if you're just starting or you've been in business for years and years and you know what you're doing, it's still really important to be on top of your pricing,
Mm.
especially as I say with the fluctuations of stuff. But I think we can kind of split pricing into two main sections, as we said at the beginning. So the first one is getting the foundational stuff of it, making sure that your costings are right and making sure your profits right and you're charging the right amount. And then secondly, around the mindset stuff. So feeling like you're good enough,
Mm.
not comparing yourself to other people, making sure you're factoring in your skills. So there's definitely, when I started many, many, many moons ago, um, I started and I charged less because I wanted to grow my costs as my skills grew and my experience grew. So if you are at the beginning of your journey, it's okay to charge a little bit less while you're refining your skills. But when you get to a certain point, you then have to start to put a value on it's a bit like an apprentice. You probably pay an apprentice um, I'm just trying to think, apprentice plumber a little bit less than you would
Mm.
pay, or an apprentice tattooist. I had a tattooist
Mm.
today by an apprentice tattooist.
Did
I
you?
paid him a little bit less than I would have paid.
You're brave, a tattoo. That's forever.
Yeah, forever, ever. So there's that sliding scale, isn't there? But there then has to be a point where you go, right, I am fully skilled and I should be paid correctly for my time because it's
Mm.
not worth any less than somebody that is, doing another skill or another job just
Mm.
because it's making something that's beautiful and delicious. You should
Yeah,
still be being paid for it.
absolutely. And just a small caveat to what you said in terms of it's okay to charge a bit less when you start. It's very important to note that you shouldn't be making a loss.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah.
So even though you're charging a little bit less, I think what you're charging less for is your time,
Yeah.
not your ingredients. So when you work out your ingredients, then you can charge less for your time because it will take you a bit longer than, a more experienced person. And we can't expect your customer to pay 10. if you pay yourself per hour, for instance, per
Yeah,
hour, for instance, your customer wouldn't be paying you for 10 hours work when
yeah,
another person would be taking 2 hours.
yeah,
On
absolutely.
the flip side of that, when you become a bit more experienced, I can make a three-tier cake in an hour, probably. I'm baking aside, I can decorate a three-tier cake in an hour. I'm not going to pay myself £12.21
Yeah.
because, so if you think about it in terms of working a 9 to 5, at some point you're kind of like at consultant level where now you can control your prices and people are paying for your skill.
Mm.
Um, so just because I can do something in an hour doesn't means I've paid for that in the past. I've paid my dues. That's why I can charge this much. That's why your manager gets paid more than you. Well, sometimes your manager doesn't know as much as you, but but you because it's of the more experience, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So when you're starting off, it's okay to charge a bit less, but you're charging less for your time,
Mm.
not for the ingredients, please, because then you're making a loss, and that's not what it's still a business, even though it's a baby business. Tesco's not going to charge you less just because you just started. You don't get a special discount at the shops because um you just started.
And you're literally paying them to take your cake away, which you need
Exactly.
to be in that position.
Exactly, exactly. Um, but then also in terms of what I was saying about, which goes back into the mindset thing, after a while, you've been doing this for you can decorate your cakes faster. You've got better skills. You may have taken a few classes, whatever it is that you've done, it still all comes back to mindset now because how much do you charge? I was scrolling on internet. Sometimes I'm just doing market research and I'm just looking at other people's prices on their websites. And there was a baker, which is really brilliant. And I just saw one tier cakes from 1,300 and I was like, oh, okay. But that's her price. And she's booked and she's busy and she's getting flown abroad. She's international. And she was not afraid to put that on her website because that's her price. Now, even me now, with my experience and my exposure and all of that, I'm still a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to put my prices on my website but then it does take away a lot of um time wasters because now they've seen your prices, they've come to knowing exactly how much you charge. But then the mindset thing is really important, which is the point I'm trying to make. And she believes her cakes, and I believe her cakes are worth 1,300 for a single one tier. But then, there's people who are charging £300 for 3 tiers, and they're not bad cakes. They're not, you know, they're professionally I don't know what they taste like, but then they're professionally made cakes. So then when people are doing market research, it's very dangerous to go online and think, oh, she's charging £1,300 for a single ticket. I'm going to charge you can't do that because you just can't. And then the flip side of that is you're doing market research, you don't know how to price a cake, and then you see that a three-tier cake is £300, and you think, okay, well, that must be correct then because this person has put this on their website.
I think that's really interesting. And to make this podcast really real, my battery is about to run out. So no, we knew this was going to be, behind the scenes. It's really behind the scenes. But that's really interesting what you've just said about when you had that little flip in your tummy, because that shows us where your mind is at and where your mindset is at around.
Mm,
Oh, okay, well, that's obviously my ceiling there.
yeah,
So then it's up to me to do some work around where I think my maximum is at, because
yeah,
if there's
yeah.
someone charging that, there's someone paying that. And
Mm.
there'll be more than one person charging that or around that
Absolutely.
or more than that.
Absolutely. And I did send her a DM, not an email, and I said, "Oh gosh, me and you, we need to talk because you need to let me know." And she was lovely. She was like, "Oh, absolutely, we can, so not more of a mentorship, but then I'm the person who's saying, well, if someone else has done it, how can I do it as well?" as opposed to, oh gosh, that's a rip off. Rip off. I could never.
Mm.
Um, and that's my mindset. But then it's a balance, not a balance, but then it's kind of like the devil and the angel. Like, oh, that's a bit much. How this is the ceiling I've created for myself by
Yeah,
myself. No one's created the ceiling for me. I've done that
yeah,
myself.
yeah. Should
And
I
then, but
charge? Am I good
exactly,
enough? Yeah,
yeah. And then I've reached out to this person because at first, honestly, because we keep it real, I was scrolling. I thought she's not even. It's just sugar flowers. What is this? Like this is a. And then I thought, no, no, you're better than this. You're better than this thinking because it was literally tiered cakes. It wasn't any. Um, they're really lovely cakes, and it would have taken ages to make the sugar flowers, but I can make sugar flowers as well. And I thought, how is she charging £1,300 for a single tier cakes with some? It's just a little bit of sugar. And I thought, this is you shouldn't be doing that. Find out
yeah,
how,
yeah,
become her friend.
yeah,
Um, because we've got totally different clientele anyway. And I guess her mindset as well, not seeing me as competition, because she replied me immediately. She said, "Oh my God, I've just seen your page. It's lovely. It's amazing." And there was almost a, "Why don't you charge that much?"
yeah,
tone
yeah,
in her voice.
yeah.
Um, but it was just really me calling myself to order and thinking, well, why am I hating instead
Yeah,
of figuring out how I can do that as well? I mean,
yeah.
I've not quite charged 1,300 for a single ticket, but I will, I'm going
It's
to.
possible, yeah, and
It's
that's
possible,
what we
exactly.
need. We need to see evidence that it's possible, and
Hmm.
somebody else doing it for us to go, actually, if they can do it, I can absolutely do it. And then it's on us then to do the work around the mindset, because we are sort of more naturally, unfortunately, humans are more naturally um, lean towards that negative mindset. So we have to, I think it's something like 5 positive thoughts for every negative thought that we have to override it. So we then have to go, okay, what is it in me that feels like I'm not good enough to charge that amount?
Mhm.
And then what can I do to override that? So
Mm.
it's remembering whatever works. For some people, affirmations really work. For some people, having a look, like doing market research and going, yeah, actually, I'm as good as these people
Mm.
and I could charge what they're charging. For some people, it's taking better photos, even. I mean, your photos are gorgeous,
Thank you.
but you see some cakes that look amazing, but they just haven't quite got the photography right. And that's
Mhm.
probably a couple of £100 right there. You take amazing photos, you can charge more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's also a thing about the company you keep, and not following the crowd just because you mentioned, market research. So I know there's, excuse me, in the past when I was kind of just starting, I've joined Facebook groups and kind of Instagram groups. And in those groups, it was someone would sort of bring that kind of picture and say, this is £1,300. And everyone in the group would say, oh my God, that's too much, that's too much, that's too much. That's a ripoff. And everyone would feed off each other's energy. So you need to be friends with other people
Mm,
who either are like, you want to be like those people, they're aspirational. Don't be the biggest fish in your friendship group where everyone's saying, "Oh, you're so amazing, you're so amazing, you're so amazing," and then you think, you can't grow that way.
wow.
Because I do have groups where, not groups, but then I know people, I know I'm friends with people who think, "Oh my God, Tabby, I just wish that if only I could charge half what you charge." And that's great. That feels nice. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, if only I can charge what she's charging or what they're charging, and if only I can do what they're doing.
Mm,
And that's how you're going to grow. And again, it all still comes back into mindset because the company you keep, the information you consume
mm,
will 100% affect your mindset. So
yeah.
I'm looking at these posts on Instagram, especially um, where someone's made a post about this is how much it costs to make a cake. So then that's why I'm charging whatever it is pounds that I'm charging. And everyone's reposting this.
Mm,
And it's driving me mad because you don't have to justify your prices to anyone.
no.
No one else does it. I think I've never seen, I mean, I don't follow that many fashion designers or builders or any,
Mm.
no one else says a brick costs time
Yeah, yeah,
and this, and that's why I charge this. I I only see it in our space.
yeah. It's mad, isn't it? It's almost like we're feeding that beast of, well, I can get a Colin Caterpillar cake for 8 quid or whatever it is in M&S. So, why would I pay 150 quid for a cake? But that's feeding the narrative by explaining, if somebody is your customer and they like what you do and they want what you do for themselves, and they will pay it. And if they're not, that's fine. There's enough people in the world that will get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, back to mindset is because I tell people, so I speak to loads of people every day, and someone say, "Oh, I live in a really poor area. No one's ever gonna buy that cake from me." Well, don't sell to people in your area.
Yeah,
Sell, move
you're
and
not a tree.
you're not a tree. And I literally do this exercise with people, and I'm just talking to them. I said, "Tell me what your postcode is." So they tell me their postcode, and I go on Rightmove, and I'm just like, okay, house prices from this postcode 5 miles away, and then there's like £1 million, 1.5, 2. I'm like, so the people who live in 1.5 million houses, do you not think they can pay a little bit more and they're 5 miles away from you?
Yeah,
Someone's making their cakes.
yeah,
Maybe make it you and
yeah.
figure out how to sell to those people.
I always think if
Someone
there's
will say, I
a,
live on a, sorry.
sorry, go on.
Yeah, so someone would say, I live in a council estate. And I said, I, not everyone who lives on a council estate is poor, quote
Mm,
unquote. And I promise, beg, borrow, steal, whatever. If you look out in the car park, there's going to be a Range Rover, a Mercedes in those council estate car parks. So
yeah.
and people save money for big occasions,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So, I mean, I go in Primark every day for like my kids' socks and that, but I'd never buy their birthday clothes from Primark because, it's Primark.
yeah.
So then people say, oh, no one's going to buy from me. I said, where do you live? They tell me. And I say, I know people will pay that much because they buy from me and pay £100, £200 delivery fee for
Mm,
me to bring their cake over there.
mm,
So you need to figure out how to reach those customers, to attract those customers. But it all still starts in the mind.
yeah, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt. What I was going to say is if there's a Waitrose or a Sainsbury's around your area, there are people that will buy your cakes.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah,
that simple. They've
yeah,
done market research. They've got millions they've put into market research.
yeah,
They
exactly.
will buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the mindset thing. So it's around us blocking ourselves around what we expect or how we spend or what we expect our customers to put emphasis on. So they might not have. So when I started my first cake shop in 2009, it was the middle of a big recession, and people said, "Why are you starting a luxury chocolate cake shop in the middle of a recession? It's just madness." But actually, people were maybe cutting back a little bit on holidays or not buying the upgrade of their car, for example, but they were still putting stuff into birthday parties and,
Mm.
still spending. So there's whatever economic time we're in, there's always people that will be spending, and it's then up to us to do the mindset work to go, right, how can I get past this thought? So a nice exercise that I do every day that I got from my coach. So, as a coach and mentor, I really strongly believe that every coach and mentor should have a coach and mentor. 'Cause
Mm.
don't, you're stagnant, and we need to be growing and we need to be learning. And there's never a day that you go, oh, I know everything today. Brilliant, I can give up. So my coach talks about a thought download. So to catch those little gremlins that are in your mind that you probably don't even think about, we have, I think is widely documented, we have about 100,000 thoughts a day, and we can't catch all of those. And the majority of those are negative
Mm.
for most people. And that's not a diss. That's
Mm.
fact. That's how it is. So it's up to us then to get out those little mindset gremlins and go, right, you are not living in my mind rent free. Thank you. You are off.
Mm.
So this thought download is all about when you wake up, it's about, okay, what am I believing today or what's coming out? You know, when you wake up and you're like, oh, it's another day, or oh, I've got to do this today. I don't want to do that, or oh, I'm failing everything. You know, I said something horrible to the kids last night and I'm a terrible mother and blah, 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 blah. And all of those thoughts, get them down on paper, 10 thoughts. And then you look at the how do I feel when I have that thought? So you take the predominant thought. So mine a couple of days ago was I think I'm learning how to run like I've never been a runner, and I've always seen people run and been like, "Oh God, what's wrong with you? What are you running away from?" You know. But I started running as a promise to myself about a year ago, and I'm like, I'm never going to get faster. So it's like, okay, that's an interesting thought because I presented it to myself like that's a fact, and actually that's not a fact. That's just a thought.
Mm.
First of all, so it's recognizing that things are just
Mm.
thoughts. And then how do I feel when I tell myself that thought that I'm never going to get faster? Well, not very good. You know, that's not that's a bit of a crappy thought. And then what action do I take from that thought? Well, if you're never going to get faster, that feels a bit crap. So the action that I'm going to take is probably nothing. Like I might go on a run feeling a little bit crappy about myself, or I might go, do you know what? There's no point in going for a run because I'm never going to get any faster. And then result is that I don't get any faster because I've given up on myself.
Mm.
And then it's like flipping that around and going, how do I want to feel? Like, oh, so I want to feel that if I go on a run, I'm excited or I'm happy to be running, which is a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it, in itself? Or I want to feel like I'm progressing in some way, like I'm
Yeah.
getting better. So I'm taking that thought first or that emotion first. What's the action that I need to take? Well, I just need to go for a run and with the intention of enjoying it.
Mm.
My thought then is I'm going to go for a run and enjoy it, and the outcome is whatever it is. I enjoy running or I've got faster, but that's not the hang up anymore. So it's kind of like taking that out. And although that feels like it's might be a big thing to do every day, it can take you 3 or 4 minutes a day.
Mm.
And it can really set you up for the rest of the day and it gets those little mindset gremlins out. You know, like I'm never going to be able to charge more than 100 quid for a cake. Okay, that's a thought. How do I feel when I have that thought? Well, a bit crappy, a bit like, what's the point? You know, my business isn't going anywhere. The action then is I show up as somebody that doesn't know how to charge properly or
Mm.
doesn't know, um, can't charge properly. Result is you can't charge properly because that's what you're projecting. So
Mm.
flip that around and go, how do I want to feel? I want to feel like I'm growing and I'm improving my business and I'm able to charge correctly. Then the thought is I am charging properly or I am working towards charging properly. And the result is you start to charge properly.
Mm.
And it's, yeah, so much up here.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's a brilliant one because we just have these random thoughts and then it just cripples you sometimes. Because so for instance, in my classes, someone's just saying, "Oh, I'm not good at this. I'm never going to understand ganache." It's only chocolate and cream. Relax.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
When I say that, I can immediately see a, you're right. It's only chocolate and cream.
Don't need to be
Why don't I?
scared.
I'm not, I'm like, you're the boss of ganache. You can't. And then immediately they kind of perk up. But then at first, like, oh, I'm never gonna get this. I just struggle so much. And I have to say, let me stop you right there, please. There's no negativity in my class, positive vibes only. And I say it in a jokey way, but I actually do mean it because
Yeah,
there's no use. We're both going to struggle. I'm going to struggle to teach you, and you're going to struggle to learn if
yeah,
your mindset keeps throwing a spanner in this work that we're doing. Um, but yeah, so what exercises I mean, apart from that one, are there any other exercises? Because I've read somewhere, or maybe it was a TikTok, I don't know. I've learned somewhere that I think either your brain or your body can't tell what's real and what's not. So if something actually happens and you feel how you feel and you just have a thought about that thing happening, the brain can't tell the difference or something.
yeah, yeah. It's so true. And first of all, I love this. Like, I've read somewhere because I always do it. I'm like, I've read somewhere and I've actually like seen it on Instagram or something. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, you might have still read it on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love that. I'm always taking the mickey out of myself for that one. Yeah, so looking back, like I'm really into manifestation and mindset stuff, and like
Mm,
I've manifested so much in my life. And I think sometimes that can sound a little bit like, oh, icky, I love manifesting, but it's so true. Like when you really look into manifestation and the science behind it,
mm,
it's I think that a lot of the like going back to the Britishness of it all, like keep yourself small,
mm,
apologize for your existence, don't take up space, don't be too successful. And the flip side, and that's to keep us as kind of worker bees and to keep us in our little boxes. And
mm.
manifestation is the opposite of that. It's going, I can do and achieve anything I want to. So I've used it in some of the best and some of the darkest times in my life. So I remember about 5 years ago, I was like, I'd just come out of a horrible relationship. I couldn't see a way forward. I really didn't know what the future was for me. Um, I was struggling with parenting, just everything just felt really
Mm,
crap, right? And I was like, I am not going down with this one.
mm,
So I was every day I would go on a walk and I would repeat over and over in my head what I wanted. So I have an abundance of love, health, wealth, and happiness. I am building a business. I fall in love more and more every day. And maybe that was just, with myself.
mm.
And now I had a moment this morning actually. I was in bed doing my journaling. And I thought, oh my goodness, everything that I prayed or whatever you want to call it, praying, manifesting, everything that I had in my thoughts then, I have now got.
Oh,
It's like sometimes we don't pause long enough to see that, do we? If you could go back to IO, what, 6 years ago and show her today's IO, she'd be like, oh, you did
I
it.
have to go back last year is
Yeah, yeah.
we just need to go back 12 months.
Yeah, yeah. And that's it. Like we are so good at beating ourselves up and going, oh, but I haven't achieved this or that didn't work out as I'd expected or whatever. But let's stop and let's celebrate those times that we're like, do you know what? I got through a really crappy time and I've come out the other side, and call it manifestation, call it fate, call it whatever you want. Like you've brought something into your life because you've made a conscious decision to move past that crappy point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes because so for me it was last year was just horrible. I had health issues. I had all the issues, everything that made me call myself Ayo was basically taken away from me. I think the only thing was just I was still being called mum. That's it. That everything else, every other title I had was just gone. And I was in this deep, deep depression. And I remember thinking, well, it's either I die or I live. And then, but I didn't know how to be anything else. And I remember my friend, it was on my birthday, and she said, no, this is enough of this. And then, of course, because I was feeling sorry for myself, and I said, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm such a burden to you.
Mm,
I'm sorry, I'm such a burden. I'm just telling you, I've got no one to talk to. She's like, shut up. That's not, that's not what I mean. But I know you, and I know you can come out of this. And, you know, you need to come out of this because no one's coming to get you. You're the only one who can save yourself. And everything you need to save yourself is in you. So then I got myself a mentor, and, he's been great. And then he just keeps telling me every time, the answer is in you. It's
mm,
not anywhere else. It's in you. So if you're quiet long enough, if you listen long enough, if you watch long enough, you're gonna figure it out.
mm,
And I was saying, I've got nothing. I've been away for so long. I'm not even relevant anymore in the baking world. And he was like, how could you? He said, if you go back and no one listens to you, it means you never actually built a community in the first place. And I remember he said, you've built a crowd and not a community. because crowds, they come quickly and they disperse quickly.
Mm.
So if you have a community, first of all, they're wondering, oh, where is she? Or what, and then when you come back, it's like, oh,
Here she is.
back, there she is. And you would be back like you never left. And I still thought, oh no, it's too dangerous. It's too, what if I fail? What if this? And I've got, and I just came back. There was no announcement. There was no explanation. It's just like, guys, yep, here I am. I'm back. And I kept thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a countdown post. Analysis paralysis. And if I had to do all those things, I wouldn't have done anything. I just thought, okay, right, I'm gonna start teaching. I don't know what I'm going to teach. I don't know where I'm going to teach. I have no money to even do anything. And I said, well, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I'm already, because last year I hit rock bottom and I thought, oh, okay, this is rock bottom, surely. And rock bottom, I promise you, it could go lower. And it's just like, oh, wow, there's a hole.
Yeah, why are you testing me?
Um, but I had to really, really, everything I've achieved this year, and I was counting one time, I think last month, and I thought, oh my God, I've taught 102 people this year. And it didn't feel like it. And I was thinking, oh God, my next class isn't fully booked. Oh, maybe the initial excitement has worn off. Maybe. So I'm not gonna do those classes anymore. I think it's run its course. And then I thought, that's 102 people. There's billions of people in the world. There's more than 102 people in my postcode.
Yeah, in your
So, what do
probably.
you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean? So I said, okay, well, re-strategize, learn something new, do something fresh. I don't know what it is. And that's kind of where I am right now. Um, but I could have easily gone down the slope of it's the end,
yeah,
nothing's gonna happen again.
yeah,
And believe it or not, no human being was telling me this. I was telling me this.
yeah,
People are not typically mean to you, most people. So no one's going to say, "Oh, Aya, that's a rubbish dream." Some people will, I mean, but I don't have friends like that.
no,
But I mean, typically you're so horrible to yourself, and there's some things that
oh,
you'd
yeah.
never say to someone else, and then you say it to yourself.
I read reading this or read this book a little while ago called
Are you
Infinite
sure it's a
Receiving.
book?
Yeah, yeah. It was an Instagram called Infinite Receiving. It's a really good
Mm,
book if you haven't read it.
okay.
And she talks about would you let your best mate borrow your inner voice? And I was like,
Mm,
oh, that's a big one,
mm,
and I
mm,
think that most of us could say that would stop us in our tracks and
mm,
go, right,
mm,
I'm
mm.
hyping my friends up, but am I hyping me up?
Always. Mm. That's yeah, that's a big one. Because
Yeah,
I'm the cheerleader. You think you can do it, let's go. And how can I support?
uh,
Let's do it.
yeah,
Soon as someone says, I want to do something, I'm like, yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay, tell me more, tell me more. But then sometimes when it's myself, I'm like,
Can I?
can I? Are you
Yeah,
sure? What would people think? What if you embarrass yourself? And but people don't care.
yeah,
People are so busy with their own lives.
yeah,
No one's checking for you. Literally no one's watching.
yeah,
Even if they are, it's for what, the 30 seconds of that reel, the 1 minute of that, and they get on with their lives. As soon as they scroll past, they've forgotten you.
yeah.
Mm,
Or they're thinking, I wish that I could be more like that as well.
exactly. That's another thing as well. Yeah, yeah. But we're just so horrible to ourselves. And
Yeah,
again, mindset.
yeah. So I think that's a really nice way to end this. But I want to
Mm.
leave you with not you, well, all of us, me, you,
Oh, you,
listeners,
you.
yeah, with a little thought, which is how can you be a bit more best mate-ish to yourself? So what would you say to
Yeah.
your best mate, and how can you be your biggest cheerleader?
Mm.
And if you haven't got a cheerleader, then drop into either or both of our Instagram accounts and go, do you know what? I need a cheerleader today. Sorry
Mm.
to offer this on your behalf, by the way, but definitely message me.
It's
Need a
okay.
cheerleader. I can be a cheerleader, but we are both here to cheerlead you.
We definitely are.
Yeah. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. See you next time.
That's it for today's episode of The Batter Truth.
If you laughed, learned something, or just feel seen, hit subscribe, share it with your cake bestie, and leave us a review.
And if you want more behind the scenes chaos, join us over on Instagram and YouTube. The links are in the show notes.
See you next time.